mom, I would say, has been my strongest supporter over the years. She's proved to me that prayer will carry. Even when the world says you can't make it, she's prayed us through it. And my mother was left with 2 teenage boys and a young preteen daughter and me. We moved into a 2-bedroom trailer, all 5 of us. I didn't even know I was poor. I can tell you, if you opened our refrigerator any time, we had ketchup and mustard. That's it. So I went to school hungry normally. I didn't have lunch at schools. And most of the time I came home trying to find whose house I was going to figure out somewhere to eat. In high school, I dated the father of my children. We were better friends, and I should have been friends for a long time. We graduated and we celebrated, and 9 months later is my son. A husband that had a job, and I'm home with a baby, and I have no friends, and I was pretty lost, and I made some bad choices then, and I basically I took my son and I abandoned my marriage, and for about 6 months, and we worked it out, and I allowed that mistake for me to pay for it for 17 years, because he ultimately was a man who's a kind man, and he wasn't a bad man, and he did all the right things. He took care of the house and, you know, the bills, and he showed up for my son's sports and the scheduled vacations that I made sure we had, and we had the atypical outskirts, but he didn't have God. He still doesn't have God, and to this day I still pray that he knows God. But when he had his moments or his needs outside the marriage, he would reach for them, and I would accept it as punishment. And I did for many, many years. Because I hurt him and I felt like I deserved it. In '99, he chose that he wanted to kind of feel out a full relationship with somebody else, and there's not much you can do when somebody decides to do that. And at the same time, I was getting sick and didn't realize it. And I had probably been getting sick, they say, for about 10 years and didn't realize it, because I took very little care of me and wrote everything off to stress. You know, it's what happens when you take on other people. January of 2000, I ended up in the emergency room. I left work, came home, ended up in the emergency room. It's all kind of a blur. I don't know exactly how it went down, but I know I woke up to a surgeon in my face. 5 quarter-sized gallstones in my gallbladder. My gallbladder had been non-functioning. They had to also take between 7 and 12 feet of my small intestines out because they were mushed together. He had asked me what I had been eating or drinking, and I said, well, I drink water and I eat mashed potatoes. And he said, does that seem normal to you? So I'm under a lot of stress, you know. That was my answer for everything. I'm under a lot of stress. My husband just left me, you know. I was released. Now, mind you, I own a home. You can't survive raising a son and yourself on a temporary disability. So I would beg my gastrologist, who's this brand new doctor that I have, because I've never been to doctors, to release me to go back to work as soon as possible. And he would. As soon as the staples were out, he would release me. And I'd go back to work, and 4 more times every 3 months, I would end up in emergency surgery. I would lose another foot of intestines. And it hit a holiday every time. So I had it in January. 3 months later, I had it again. 3 months later, I had it again. This was 5 times in that 1 year, the longest being over the Christmas holiday. But in the middle of all of it, a miracle happened. I was told, due to all the scarring and all the things that were going on in my system, that I could never have any more children. And I ultimately always wanted a lot of kids. So one day I'm pregnant, you know, and I'm pregnant with this little girl, and I was high risk immediately. You know, I was warned immediately that, you know, odds are you're not gonna be able to carry this child, don't get your hopes up, all this, and I just remind them that they're not God. I wasn't supposed to get pregnant either. My kids have carried me without knowing that they've carried me, because there's so many times in life that I fought to be alive, that I prayed to be gone. I would never hurt myself, but I never could figure out, why am I here? I don't see happy endings in my life. I see that I'm here. It has nothing to do with me. And that's hard sometimes. I don't feel like I have a direction for this time frame, this world, that I'm here for others. And most of the time, I'm okay with that. But when you're sick, and when you're alone, and when you're scared, you know, and you're used to handling everything, it's overwhelming. And God knew what I was going to need to carry me through. And that's these kids. My kids are why I'm here today. And I know that. I know that I could never quit because I have these children, and life's going to get tough, and it's going to be hard. And I can give them something that my mother gave me, which is why there's no hope in your sight. You have to have faith. There's more than just you, and more than your circumstances, and your circumstances don't get to tell you how life's going to be.